And ladies and gentlemen, the topic for this session is building world-class tourism infrastructure in New India. India, in order to unfold its tourism potential and to position itself as a world leader in tourism, will have to enhance its focus on integrated and all-round development of infrastructure. The future tourism policy must therefore lay special emphasis on the issues of core infrastructure, namely the international openness, ease of access, hassle-free travel, good connectivity, and multimodal transportation. And to discuss this topic, we have some eminent panelists on the panel with us. We have Mr. Josiam Bharat, who is Professor Hospitality and Tourism at University of North Texas. Mr. Bobby Sani, who is MD Bakshi Transport Services. Bakshi Transport Service is engaged in providing transport services for all walks of life, be it leisure or business trips. They also specialize in handling foreign tourists under the capable guidance of Mr. G.S. Sani and Mr. K.S. Sani, his son. The company has won several awards and accolades. On the panel, we have Dr. Rahul, who is professor and HOD for Department of Hospitality, Kanagat, and Dr. Rahul is an account academician and hospitality consultant from Vadodara, Gujarat. Our eminent panelist, Mr. Rajiv Kapoor, is COO at Starlit Suits. Our panelist, Mr. Vivek Angra, is a graduate from Delhi University and IHM Delhi. He started his career with the Oberoi Mumbai, then served the Indian government for more than 20 years. Retiring as an IRTS officer of Indian Railways, he worked in several roles in the commercial and the catering departments of Northern Railways, including commercial officer in charge of Parliament House and PMO catering. He was also posted as the Director, Indian Tourist Board, London during his 6 years deputation with Ministry of Tourism. President and head UK market with Trailblazer Tours, Mr. Vivek is now based in UK. And our distinguished moderator for this session, Mr. Anil Bhandari, is the author and former CMD of ITDC and currently the chairman of AB Smart Concepts, a firm which functions as an advisor to owners and investors and assists in concept to commissioning of hotels, transforming existing hotels and development of travel and tourism projects. And ladies and gentlemen, I now hand over to our distinguished moderator to carry forward the proceedings of this session. Over to you, sir.
And I would like to welcome all my fellow panelists, especially Bharat, who has come from USA, and we are keeping me awake at 2 a.m. Friends, today we'll be discussing on the subject, building world-class tourism infrastructure in New India. Tourism accounted for 10.3% of the global GDP, US 8.9 billion and 330 million jobs, or 10.4% of the total employment in 2019. Over the past 5 years, 1 in 4 of all the net jobs created across the world has been in travel and tourism. The Indian travel and tourism sector contributed nearly $194 billion, around 6.8% of the GDP, as on 2019. 4.2 crore jobs were created in the tourism sector in India, which was 8.1% of the total employment in the country. Unfortunately, to the post-COVID, the situation is very bad. We don't know what is going to happen tomorrow, but I take it like a passing clouds. In the past also, it has happened with us when various kind of happy things have happened with us, such as like the 9/11, and we had the Bombay riots. So many things have happened during this time, but in a year or time, the tourism had taken back into action. Friends, so the need of the hour to help tourism industry grows as one of the main industries through innovative means of financial assistance and investment into various segments. In addition to the promotion of tourism is key and will help foster better understanding between people, create employment opportunities, and bring about socio-economic benefits to the community. Particularly in the interiors and remote areas, to strive towards balanced and sustainable development and preserve, enrich, and promote India's cultural heritage. However, to fully actualize the true economic potential of tourism, sustained effort to augment and modernize tourism infrastructure in the country are required. Multifaceted approach towards development of accommodation, connectivity, wayside amenities, and recreational zone infrastructure is vital for the holistic development of the sector. In my view, this will require large capital expenditure, which will needs to be driven by a partnership-led approach. Involvement of private sector will be critical to not only boost infrastructure, but also help in curating new tourism products. Recently, a draft policy has been presented to all the stakeholders to give their views by the Ministry of Tourism. To give their views, as we discussed, yes, this was discussed yesterday in one of the webinar which we had yesterday at the New Tourism Foundation webinar. In this, they have set up a target of achieving a figure of 33 million foreign tourists. Presently, we are close to 10 million. We are close to 10 million, 33 million foreign tourists, and as well as 3.6 billion domestic tourists. So this is the objective they have, and they have framed the entire policy. But a policy cannot work in isolation. It needs, tourism certainly needs a lot for infrastructure to be developed to make sure that this objective is met. So friends, now I would request my fellow panelists to give their views and their suggestions how we can meet this objective and go forward. At the first, I would like to invite our friend, Professor Bharat M. Joshim, Professor of Tourism and Hospitality, University of North Texas. Bharat, what I would like to know, what according to you is the criteria of world-class tourism infrastructure? What should India do to create a financially viable world-class tourism infrastructure in the next 5 years?
Well, let me give a kind of roundabout answer out here. You know, one of the first things when we teach in the introduction to tourism class is that the problem with the tourism industry is that it's completely fragmented, number one. So it cannot speak as a unified body. Therefore, the government does not recognize the potential and so on, because it's not like one big industry like steel industry or something like that. And it's only in times like COVID and things when the tourists stop coming that the guy who's selling coconut water near the tourist destination realizes that he's actually in the tourism business, not in the coconut water business. So as you point out, the need of the hour in these dire times is for the government to step forward in partnership with the private sector, because as you pointed out, tremendous amount of capital will be needed for investment in various structures. So having said that, tourism development is a complex phenomena, and the infrastructure development is an integral part of that. And when we look at the components of infrastructure, each one requires massive investment. We can start with the tourist arriving at the international airport. And I think India has made tremendous strides. New Delhi Airport, Bombay Airport, Chennai Airport, through which I've been transiting, are fabulous and certainly world class. The problem arises to, number one, maintain, even within the airport, the quality of amenities such as the bathrooms and so on. And then the next problem is you step out of the airport and there is like total chaos out there. Again, some cities like Bangalore are better than this, and other cities are bad. And so then we move to the secondary cities and the third level cities. For example, Bhubaneswar, through which I transited recently. And the airport, I guess, has been recently renovated from what I could see, but it leaves a lot to be desired. Now, having said that, Bhubaneswar is very close to major tourism destination, Puri, Konark Sun Temple, which are World Heritage sites and which have tremendous potential. I worked with ITDC at Open Kalinga Ashok in Bhubaneswar 40 years back, so I'm well aware of that. And so India is a huge, complex country with so much to offer, and even ambitious target of 30 million is nothing. I mean, think of countries like Thailand, which are doing a lot more with nothing much, which I think one of the big areas of Indian development which has been neglected is the Indian coastline. You've all been to Thailand, I'm sure. I mean, what is there in Pattaya? It's like a one strip of beach out there. We got thousands of kilometers of beach in India, on the East Coast and West Coast, and we need to invest in developing literally thousands of miles of beaches. And as you pointed out, that would provide employment to millions of people across the country. So we have to invest in that. The other thing which I think we are aware that the Chinese government is doing, for example, is educating the domestic population how to treat tourists. What is tourism? How to behave as tourists, and how to deal with tourists who are foreigners and who are guests. And I think this aspect has not been talked about much in the Indian circumstances. And that is a part of the government's PR initiative to drive to the country at large the importance of tourism, and therefore the necessity to treat tourists with hospitality, Atithi Devo Bhava, but convey it at all levels. So tourists feel safe, tourists don't feel threatened by hawkers and touts. And these are things that we need to work on. We are making great progress on the big stuff, like the airports are fantastic. Indian Railways is doing an amazing job coming up with high-speed trains and those kind of things. Hotel industry is developing a number of world-class hotels in all over India. But things are falling through the cracks in many of these aspects, which we need to really focus upon, particularly intramodal transportation. You get off the plane, as I said, you just step off the airport, and it's totally chaotic. You don't know where the taxi is. You don't know, where things are. Those are some of the things which need to be addressed. I will stop with that for a moment because infrastructure is such a complex issue. You talk about power supply, water supply, transportation, all of that. And we have other experts. And as we were told, I think it's good to have a discussion and not just me going on and on, which I can talk for 3 hours as a professor. I don't want to be doing that.
What I thought, I will ask you this question that, our neighbors like Thailand, Singapore, and you find even China, they have grown such faster, and they have 3 times, 4 times, 5 times our tourists, which foreign tourists arriving over there. What is wrong with us?
I will tell you from my perspective, from when I have been in India, before economic liberalization, particularly in India, going back to 80s, the government of India had a very socialistic approach and could never really make up its mind whether international tourism particularly was a good thing or a bad thing. And so the policies kept going back and forth. So as a simple example, the tax structure was such that if you go to a 5-star hotel, the theory of the government was, well, you can afford to pay lots of money, so we are going to have 25% tax on the food, 25% tax on the room, and the liquor license cost is like outrageous. So the government has gone back and forth, and unless there is stability in government policy, industry can't develop. I think that has been one of the fundamental issues, and it has changed. But I'm still not convinced that it has changed fully, as I've been reading in the newspaper about what is the reaction of government of India to help hospitality and tourism sector at times of COVID. I'm not sure that they have still recognized what you and me know, the billions of people it's employing. We are still in this socialistic mindset. Why are we subsidizing rich white guys in 5-star hotels? I don't think that we have done a good job as an industry to convince leaders at the government of India level that, as I said, this is about providing employment to the guy who's selling coconut water on the side of the road. It's not just guys in suits and ties, you and me. I think that is an important aspect for the industry to convey some of these soft issues, the hard issue of infrastructure, build the airport and so on, it supports other sectors too. So the government clearly recognizes it. But some of these other issues, there's a fundamental lack of understanding. And China, Thailand particularly, figured this out long back that they need, especially Thailand and smaller countries, that tourism can provide employment. Tourism is what they have to offer. And the government of India, I think, is still, I'm not sure they're really convinced. I mean, you folks are in India and interacting with these people. You tell me. I think enough said.
Can I just jump in here, Banerjee?
Please.
I would like to question the whole aspect of Government of India in the draft policy they've given number of 33 million foreign tourists, whatever years they do. But the point is that what is the point having 33 million tourists if you don't define the quality of tourists? If you have charters full of backpackers coming to Goa and you have 33 million of those, what is the point of having them? So I think apart from the numbers, it's fine. There has to be a measurable goal for doing anything in the world. But I think apart from that, most important thing is also having targets for employment, also having targets for what foreign exchange you want to earn from those 33 million people. Also having targets for sustainability as to which direction you want to take the tourism in the country to, whether you want the people to also benefit from that, you want the locals to also benefit, do you want your culture to be preserved, do you want your monument to be preserved? And it has to be much more holistic than just the numbers, because getting numbers is just not enough. We are not at that stage where we don't have any tourists. I mean, if you look at it, we still number 22 or something, where we get 1.24% of international tourism. So we're not underdeveloped country anymore. We are among the top 22 countries in the world who have tourism. But from here, very important is that we decide our direction. In which direction do we want to take tourism to? And I think, and the direction should be then decided by not only the government, not only the politician, not only the babus, but the tourism industry as a whole, which is, all of us and all other stakeholders in the tourism. So I think ultimately, I'll come back to the same point, which has been discussed over the years, of a tourist board which is the voice of tourism for decision making, So I think all that is important to make India a world-class tourism destination.
Vivek, since you are already started the topic, maybe I ask you.
I can't hear you.
But can you hear?
I don't know what happened. I'm sorry, I can't hear anybody.
Bharat, can you hear us? Sorry.
No, I think you can't.
Okay. Vivek, I'll carry on with the question that
please.
Since you're already have spoken on this particular subject, tell us, where are we going wrong in marketing our product? India has the largest number of heritage sites. India has the best of the beaches, best of the palaces, Havelis, and largest number of cuisine which no country in the world has. And these are God gifted. Yeah, other countries are making man-made, but these are God gifted too. Where have we gone wrong in our marketing? Yeah. What we should do?
Yeah, ideally, so what's happening is that, I mean, I've been fortunate to be based here in UK for last almost 17 years. And I've seen how the whole marketing stuff is done internationally around. I've been a part of the Incredible India campaign as well for about 6 years. So the whole point about marketing is that there are two ways, there are two things you have to market. One is the products you have, and second is the new products. So what we are good at is marketing the products we already have. That is the Golden Triangle, the Kerala, the wildlife, the tigers and all. I think that's been overdone. You don't need to tell people anymore that India is equal to Taj Mahal or India has Golden Triangle or Kerala. They've been over marketed. So where we've gone wrong is that if you look at, as Bharat very nicely touched upon the beaches. So, and it's all again interrelated with infrastructure. So I think what ideally India needs to do is identify places to be developed as new tourist destinations, decide the way they want to go, and develop those. And there's no way apart from sustainable tourism, responsible tourism, where everyone gets benefit off from locals to everybody else, and then market those products. So I'll give you one example. Okay, I'll give you one particular example. For instance, in 2003, there was a tender for some small island in 300 kilometers from Port Blair in Andamans. There was a tender for developing that into a private sector place. It never came into fruition. It all went bust or whatever. It never came. Then they never got given to anybody. So what I'm saying is that, so first to identify a place or an island or a part of an island, say in Andamans, a nice stretch of beach, which Bharat very said, we have, I don't know, 7,000-8,000 kilometers of beach in India. So you identify that 4-5 kilometer stretch of beach. You say, okay, here we want to develop 4, 3-star resorts. You consult the industry, us, where, okay, I will give my inputs of UK market as to what people would like to have, what kind of resorts they like to have, they like to go to, and then similarly take inputs from others, and most importantly, take inputs from the local people in that island as to what do they want. Because we don't want to go into a situation where, I don't know how many of you know that, there's a beautiful resort like Carnoustie, named Carnoustie in Kerala. And after 3 or 4 years of its functioning, suddenly one day the resort was closed because the neighbors objected to that resort being there. They literally closed the resort. They didn't allow anybody to go into the resort and go out of the resort because that resort was being forced upon in the locality. No one wanted it, but suddenly one day someone gave a contract to this guy and he built a resort over the years, or a few months. And then it was like giving, charging 20,000-30,000 per person there, and no one wanted it there. So anything which that happens in that island should be in agreement with the locals. And when you do a tender, the most important thing in that should be that the company who set up the resorts, they will participate in skill development of the locals. They will employ 90% or 95% from that island. And over the period of 2 years, while the resort is being built, they will actually, they will be bound legally or whatever to educate the people who will be working in the resort. And that is the infrastructure which that's how it should be developed over the years. And also there should be no shame in then giving the resorts signages locally, so that you can say that these people are partners to developing the infrastructure there. And also, if there is an Oberoi or a Taj or a big chain there, they should also be tied up with not only those hotels, but also developing, say, 100 homestays there. So they actually train the people, because once you have a Taj or a Oberoi or a big, international chain hotel, you will obviously have lots of people going there because of marketing and because of word of mouth. So then all of them will not be able to go to 5-star. So you should have 4, 3 homestays and all. So all those people should actually be involved in, the infrastructure. So I think that is the way forward for tourism in India. Sorry, I went too much.
Thank you. Thank you, Vivek. That's very nice. Good suggestions which you made, that the local community need to be involved in developing the destination. They should be part of it, which is absolutely very essential. And also to make smart destination. We have to think ahead of the times, because we are planning for 2025. So that is very important. Very good. Thank you very much. Now I will request Rajiv Kapoor, former CEO of the Starlet Suites. In your view, if we look at the hotel accommodation in India, is that sufficient? Presently, they say approximately 400,000 rooms are there. And if you look at the Orlando city, which may having over 225,000 rooms, a small little city may have so many rooms. In order to meet this objective of 33 million foreign tourists and 3.68 domestic tourists, we'll need many more hotel rooms. What kind of policy intervention should be done by the government so that private investment could come in to India for building of hotel rooms? Sorry, we can't hear you. Can you unmute yourself, Rajiv? Rajiv, unmute.
Yep.
Thank you, Mr. Bhandari. Namaskar. Hello, everyone. Thank you, New Tourism Foundation, for having me here amongst the eminent panelists today. It's an achievable goal. If we say that we want 33 million foreign tourists, 3.6 billion domestic tourists, we've already seen huge number of domestic tourists traveling even during the COVID times. I would say in terms of policy, especially when it's going to generate additional employment for about 10 million people in India. I would say in terms of policy, the FARs can be increased. Presently, it's at about 2.53, take it up to 3.54. Have more mid-segment hotels, clean, hygienic hotels, not necessarily luxury. A domestic tourist or even an international tourist is not expecting luxury on a beach side or in a forest resort. Let him have a clean, hygienic hotel, serving decent local food. Why not tap the rural market in this? Get the local people to provide you the local cuisine, local delicacies. Even provide land at competitive long-term lease basis. Get into the Havelis, and Havelis are all over, not only Rajasthan. We've seen Gujarat having plenty of potential for Havelis and heritage tourism. I would say even provide a tax holiday or some relaxation for taxes for the first 5 years of operation. Make construction during the project stage easier in terms of licensing and permissions. I think Maharashtra, as per an article I was reading last night, they've eased it out slightly for restaurants, where there are now 8 forms required instead of 70 forms. 10 windows to be gone to instead of 70 windows or 80 windows. So make it simpler for an investor to go take the lead and invest into restaurants and hotels. Like I said, it's going to generate huge employment at all levels, whether the housekeeping, the F&B service staff, or the managerial staff. Handicrafts are going to increase sales. Do a small tuck shop in the hotels. We've seen it all over the world. We do little souvenirs for yourselves. Local transportation, reliable, reasonable, to be provided for the tourists. I would say market India as a MICE destination, conferences, trade shows happening. In fact, the WTO theme this year was tourism and rural development. So let's get into these areas which are untapped so far. I think we'll continue during the discussions on this.
Rajiv, thank you very much. Now, what is your view in respect of the policies which the state governments have? I mean, a person from, for example, from New Delhi cannot go and build a hotel in Uttarakhand so long he is not a domicile of Uttarakhand. What do you think one should do? Likewise, it is in Northeast, I mean, or in JNK also. This is the situation. So what do you think one should do?
If the center is very keen to achieve the tourist levels, make the state government participate in this and give permissions. Why can't a Delhiite go to Jammu Kashmir and Uttarakhand to make a hotel. After all, it's going to generate employment for the state. They should be absolutely at liberty to go and construct there. Yes, have the norms to be followed, but make it easier for investors to go.
Thank you.
I
I think
think
you touched
as
a
long as
very,
it's sustainable. I
sorry,
mean, as long
Sorry,
as,
Vivek.
as long as that project is good for the, you know, for the local people, it doesn't matter whether it's the person is from Uttarakhand or from Kerala or from Delhi. You know,
no,
that should be the criteria.
presently there is a law that the
I
local
know, yes,
domiciles can only build and
yes.
the others cannot. They need to take some permission.
I know, that's what
I
I'm
have a
saying.
suggestion which I can make, which I've already made to the government to, circumvent this particular thing is create tourism zones. Like you have textile parks, then you have IT parks. When you need to do development, create tourism zone in every state and place of tourist important place. For example, now AeroCity has been built recently, which is roughly in a 50 acres of a land, and there are over 5,000 rooms have come up. And what is the advantage? The airport authority, this land is lying idle. GMR and airport authority joint hand together, leased out this land. We got 5,000 hotel rooms, resulting into over 50,000 employment directly, indirectly of that area. If you look at it. And how much airport authority is earning? 100 crore per month as a lease rental. So that's the way forward, in my view, that every state government should create tourism parks, 50 acre, 5 acre, 10 acre, depending upon the carrying capacity of that particular city or a town. And this is how we can build more hotel accommodation. So friends, thank you, Rajiv. Now I'll request Professor Rahul Kangar, Professor of Hospitality in Vadodara. What should be done to improve the quality of tourism education in India to match up to the global standards?
Well, it's a burning question, Mr. Bhandari. And thank you, Tourism Foundation, for allowing me to say a few words on this. It's absolutely true that the future and overall development of any country depends upon the fact that how education or how educated the citizens are. If you ask me as a tourism promotion, yes, education can bring elementary shift in real values, actions, responsibility of an individual. And if we see the national education policy, it is already mentioned that school has to play a very important role, and which will make a lot of changes in the tourism. It is critical in shaping an individual. If I, like Mr. Vivek also said, tourism generates about $194 billion or 6.8 of India's GDP, and in 2019, and supposed to be employing 39.80 million jobs, which is 8% of its total employment. But definitely it has got a hit now. So what we, as a tourism person or a hospitality person, I feel skill-based learning is very important. And it has been reflecting in the tourism new National Education Policy 2020, where it has been very clearly mentioned that in the school level, we have to start skill level training in hospitality, tourism, in other sectors also. As all the panelists are mentioning about focusing on local heritage, rural tourism, and sustainable tourism, these are the things which we have, some of us have inculcated in the curriculum, and some are doing it. It has become a little difficult because of the social media and smart classes, and we are unable to reach the rural area. But if we start educating the locals and train them as a proper guide, they are the masters because they know their culture, heritage, food, sustainability they can maintain. Now, government has started a free e-library, digital library for everybody, all over the country. Any and everyone, all institutions can access that, and students can access free. So this is helping a lot in developing the tourism. And there are a lot of social media attention in developing the tourism. Like if you have all seen recently Baba Ka Dhaba, that poor chap could not sustain himself, and he's been doing it for the last 30 years. And one social media clip, it has given viral and people have started pouring in over there. So I think rural tourism, if we do the same way, cultural heritage, we do the same way, so we will definitely sustain our tourism and I'll grow. And what tourism we have, I believe as a person in tourism, none of the countries in the world have. We need smart classes, which is happening. We have to develop a new tournament to engage students in the sports tourism. Organize a summit to bring policymakers to recreate the guidelines around the heritage and cultural preservation by introducing, enriching, and equally exciting reforms to develop accountability among the people, to encourage people contribute to large preservation and promotion cause. See, unless the local people are involved, like, see, it's a imbibing, I'm proud to be Indian. See, we all agree when we travel abroad, even a local person, so proudly he will explain you. If you ask a small question to him, which is the road or which way we have to reach, he will explain you a few lines about it and then he will guide you, which is lacking in our system. So the policy has to be accountable by the state, by the colleges, by the universities. That is why I will always say that collaboration with locals and local business can always help in maximum growth of our tourism department. And we'll have, believe in the incoming inflow of the tourism, what we are anticipating 3.6 billion, it will go to about maybe 8-9 billions in a very short time. Because as rightly said by Mr. Professor Bharat, we lack in infrastructure a lot. We have destinations. We have good destination in Gujarat also. They are promoting with Amitabh Bachchan, but there was lack of basic facilities of washrooms and all. So yes, definitely the government should look into it. And students are very enthusiastic. Now, government should promote guides, local guides, who can really give them the history of that heritage. Cultivate sensitivity among students toward issues like preserving the environment by keeping your city, rivers, oceans clean and free from chemical and plastic waste. Eco-friendly, what I may say. Save the environment, which has an adverse effect on tourism, that cleaning of Dal Lake, which was polluted due to the waste disposable by houseboats. Also, the oil spillage in Mauritius, which has badly affected tourism. But the government is sincerely doing effort. Dal Lake, they are doing very strong efforts to do the clearance of the Dal Lake so that it can be preserved. The beauty of Kashmir can be preserved. Well, I can go on a lot of things, but definitely, yes, with such a legend panelist, it's very important that we must do something for tourism, because I believe now domestic tourism is the key to success. The amount of Indian travelers who used to travel abroad, I think if we start doing exploring India, I think it will be difficult for us to manage international tourism. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Bharat, would you like to add something to this?
Yes, I was just going to say that some things to add. For example, I think Rahul made a very good point about educating more people in tourism. So there are 2 points I would like to make. Again, there's a famous saying in America, we have found the enemy and it is us. We in the industry have not done a good job of communicating to the public at large. What are the career opportunities, not just a job, a career opportunity in hospitality and tourism? When I look at myself, I look at Rajiv Kapoor, I look at Mr. Anil Bhandari, I look at Vivek, we are all graduates of Institute of Hotel Management. My classmates, juniors, seniors are all over the world in senior positions in international property, CEOs of international hotel chains. But I don't think we are communicating this to the person at large. Even today, every parent is hung up that their child has to get into IIT or medicine or whatever it is. Uh, we have not communicated clearly. I should give a lot of credit to Sanjeev Kapoor, who has made a chef. People know who's a chef, and he should get the credit for doing that. We have not done enough to communicate there that people want to come, and we attract smart, qualified, motivated people by communicating to them. What are the opportunities here? What is the career pathways here? And where are the opportunities for them as employees and as entrepreneurs in all sectors? That's one point I would make we need to do.
So I will add one more point, like if everybody must be knowing what Mahatma Gandhi said, the future of India lies in its villages. If the villages are perished, India will perish too. So I think that should come true. And yes, you are right by saying that we are not promoting tourism. Like tourism is the last option. Hospitality and tourism course is the last option for students. I think this
Vivek?
needs to be taken very strong view on that.
Very true.
Thank you.
I'd just like to add one thing to it as well, that over the years, the whole tourism experience has been redefined. Earlier, it used to be the creature comfort in hotels, how good the hotel is, how comfortable the hotel is. But over the years, the whole tourism aspect has been redefined into experiential tourism. So it's as a person who's involved in everyday feedback from clients, from thousands and thousands of clients who've gone to India, I would say that it was different in like early 2000, but now in 2020, the whole aspect of luxury has been redefined as well. So it is more of how much experience they have of the local, how do they go underneath the skin and then understand and be like a local, to understand, where the locals come from. That kind of excites them even more than the best of hotels, the best of food, the best of hospitality in hotels. It is that aspect which touches them more, and they bring back that more, which will then allow them to go back again and explore India again. So those are the aspects which Rahul very correctly said can be got not from the plastic hotels in cities, but they are more from delicately built hotels and resorts in the rural areas, in the beautiful countryside of India, be it the mountains or the beaches, which do not have to be backpacking accommodation. It could be very high end, but at the same time, it should be with respect to the architecture, with respect to local traditions, employing local people. They don't mind rustic service as long as it is genuine, and they don't mind paying a big price for it. Authentic. Look at CGH, the perfect model. Their product is not luxury, but it's luxury in a different way. It's a responsible luxury, and that's what people are looking at. And that's how I think post-COVID and the whole turmoil we're going through now, we are not very far away from when all the sustainability, single-use plastic will not be a sexy word, will not be a word saying, oh, we do this and we are different. It'll be illegal to do anything otherwise. We are coming to that stage where there will be no other way apart from sustainability. That's it. That is where we're heading to. That you can't survive, you can't grow tourism in any other direction.
So
thank you.
One word to add. Sorry. One word. Responsible tourism.
Yeah.
This is what he's saying. It's a responsible tourism. Everybody is responsible in the village. So they will not allow. Right. I visited Sikkim. They don't allow you to pee outside. They don't let you throw garbage outside. They catch you. The locals will tell you not to do that. Thank you. Please carry on. Sorry. It's a long thing which you can
Rajiv, I thought, let me have your views.
I was going through the draft policy last night, and it said about developing 100 smart destinations and 20 iconic destinations in the country. There's so much available today, right? From hills to the beaches, from the northeast to the west. the destiny, like he said, Sikkim and all the seven sister states, they are so pretty. Why don't we develop it? But the roads there are to reach Shillong, for example, from Assam. Although fortunately Shillong has a airport, but a very small airport and 1 or 2 flights a day. It's best when it is drivable from Guwahati to Shillong. We should be able to capture these markets and effectively, because we know it's going to generate so much of employment, encourage our local cuisine, the local handicrafts there. We must push that aspect.
Thank you, Rajiv. I find that this is a very, very important thing for a visitor experience. If he visits any country or another state, domestic tours also, he would like to know what are their customs, what kind of culture they are,
Yes.
and as well as what kind of cuisines they have. That is what they're inquisitive about. But are we showcasing that? Or we are copying the West or the Europe or the Americas? That's the question. So what should we do in order to achieve this subject, that the local customs and local way are taught to our students within the schools and colleges? For example, even a simple word called namaste, which is a very hygienic way of greeting today, especially due to COVID and friends. But all of us will wish in good morning, good evening, good afternoon. I don't know, why don't we change? If you go to any other country, you say Japan, domo arigato maizasta. And if you go to America, they'll say hi. So every country has its own local language. They will try to meet and greet people. We don't do it. So what is your view that how we can bring local things more into our entire teaching system so that the boys come with those values, and as rightly said by Vivek, people come to experience India, and we need to showcase that entire thing to the tourists.
Yeah, if I could make a point here, I'm out of touch with the current curriculum of POSA, for example, talking about food specifically. But when I was a student there, we did Western cooking and we did Indian cooking. But 90% of the Indian cooking that we did was Mughlai cuisine. That's it. That was Indian cooking. And I don't know if today people have investigated this, and there are at least one class which just can be called regional cooking and try to cover 20 regions of India. Is it happening now? I don't know.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's happening. It's happening. They are doing all regional cuisines.
Right.
Like in Gujarat, we do Gujarat at least, and Bengali cuisine, Rajasthani cuisine. So there are multiple cuisines are happening now. And since we have different students from different cities, from Northeast also, so we learn Northeast cooking also.
Yeah. This goes back to what Vivek was saying about providing new products. Just the cooking of Gujarat is a new product to the Western tourist who is sitting in London and is, having Mughlai food. We have this huge treasure trove of authentic regional cuisines, and I don't think we are doing a good job of communicating even within the country, forget to international tourists. That's another very big opportunity which should be pursued.
Mr. Bharat, in case you need Gujarati cuisine in US, we have thepla, fafda, anything.
Right.
Let us know. I have a friend who is exporting.
Yeah.
Right. It's nice to know all that.
Processing industry.
I mean,
doing a roaring business.
I fully agree. No, but let's look at it in comparison to other cuisines which have invaded our country. For example, the Chinese, the Italian, the French. They have invaded our country. But how much we have invaded into United States in the Indian cuisine? Not so much. Maybe in Europe or in Japan. Why? And what we should do?
Right.
In your view,
UK has been invaded. UK has been totally invaded with Indian cuisine, I can assure you.
UK only London. I'm sorry, only London.
No, it's all over, but not the right
all over.
In UK, we have lots of restaurants
I'm glad.
Unfortunately, not all of them are Indian. They are Bangla representation of food, you know. So,
So
but they call it Indian.
it brings us to a point that we need to also standardize some recipes. We need to standardize our recipes so that the people know what is a genuine Kashmiri Gushtaba. And it should not be
Yes.
that somebody's made it with a tomato sauce or put some other gravy into and served it. Yeah, as you get confused in London, it is a Bangladeshi or it's a Pakistani or it is an Indian cuisine. Yeah, come
Right.
from Hyderabad.
I mean, the
Great.
thing is that I would say the Indian cuisine is like Hinduism. You know, it's got so many gods and goddesses. I mean, I'm sorry about the comparison, if any religious. So it's same like that. So there's so many deviations to Indian cooking. That it's very difficult to actually standardize saying that this is how you do the tarka or, you know, so it's open to interpretation.
Now, what I meant was there by standardization that every city or a town or a state has their own authentic recipe which the grandmother has cooked. So some of the chefs need to take that action to document it, and the catering colleges which are existing in the cities and towns can authenticate it. Then it could be a part of a book, right? At least some documentation is there which will be easy for Bharat and his university to teach that this has come from Hyderabad and this is the right way of cooking a Hyderabadi cuisine. Otherwise, in the absence of all this, I'm sorry, people have their very different ways of cooking.
Well, actually, sir, I'm doing this. We have a class in international cuisine, and one class of that is Indian cuisine. And the chef calls me because she knows I'm IHM product. So I'm the guest chef for India Cuisine Day. But I'm sorry to report that after I complained about it, all I'm doing is Mughlai food. You know?
No,
But I must give credit to one chef, Sanjeev Kapoor, who has over
Absolutely.
50 books
Right.
and has gone,
Right.
and many other chefs, those who are on the TV shows, they have helped
Right.
us a lot in promoting the Indian cuisine.
Right.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So friends,
Absolutely.
now any other thing which you would like to?
I'll just add to what Vivek said. You know, it's a pleasure catching up dosa, whether you're in London or San Francisco, and get the authentic taste with a variety of chutneys that they serve. It's really surprising that they've taken the South Indian cuisine to various corners of the world.
Yeah. Very
Friends, now in the conclusion, what I would like to, we have the Tourism Student Festival which is going on. Now, students presently here are worried about the future of tourism. All the panelists are requested to briefly, in few words, address the students in this regard. So I'll start with Bharat. What is your message to the students?
My message to the students is that, you know, it is said in the Bible, and this too shall pass. Yes, COVID is very serious. Yes, it has got the industry on its knees, but this too shall pass. And there is a huge pent up demand of travel, tourism, and hospitality. And at a macroeconomic global level, as incomes rise, people want to travel. That's now become like a birthright. So I think the future is very optimistic, and this is not the time to get discouraged. This is the time to learn more and see where the opportunities are. That's what I would say.
Thank you, Bharat. Vivek?
I would like to tell the students that you've chosen the right career, but don't be disheartened by what's happening around the world. Use this time for brushing your knowledge, for getting your skill sets right, get into more IT skills, know more about. There are so many forums like this available on the internet, and you're so fortunate that you're in this stage where you have access to so much of information. But don't get confused with it. Decide your path, and then there's so much out there. So use this time to brush up your skill, your knowledge. Tourism will bounce back, definitely. There's no other way. People will never stop traveling. The way tourism will proceed will be different. So it's up to you now to see and judge the direction it'll go, and make yourself prepared for that.
Thank you. Rajiv?
I think very well captured by Bharat and Vivek. I would say there is so much of opportunity for the tourism and hotel graduates today. When we were passing out, we were left to either F&B service, front office, housekeeping, or F&B production. That's it. Today, they've got opportunities in the IT, sales and marketing. So much of technology available to them today that the sky is the limit. They are on the right path. Tourists and traffic will bounce back, very correctly said by Bharat. And it's only a matter of time. Next 6 months, you'll see tourism booming again.
Thank you, Rajiv. Professor Rahul Kangar, your
Well
views,
said,
please.
sir. In one line, if you want to ask me, I'll
No,
say
you can go more
No, no,
descriptive.
for the students, let's understand कि मैं हिंदी में भी बोलता हूँ, इंग्लिश में भी, बच्चों को ये समझना चाहिए कि हम खाना खाना बंद नहीं करेंगे, and we'll not, हम घूमना बंद नहीं करेंगे. So this industry is going to come back and come back very strong. So it's a difficult time for all of them, but hospitality students and tourism students are always versatile. They can do multitasking. So as rightly said, it is not only the 4 major departments. They can go for sales and marketing. They can go for finance. They can go, like, it's a abundance opportunity for them. Then there are, in the COVID time, there are a lot of free tools they should go, and they master themselves on technology. And I'm sure they will have not only hotels, they'll have corporate sectors, they have malls, they have, I don't know, a hospitality student can never die hungry. That's what's for sure.
Great.
He knows how to earn
message.
it. He knows how to earn the money.
That's very positive, yeah.
Yeah, I can see that, if the Ministry of Tourism is keeping a target of 33 million, increasing the tourists by 10 times, and also the domestic tourism also by 2 times, there is an opportunity for all the students. There'll be a great opportunity. These are all just a passing cloud. It will go in a year or a half time, and you will see the tourism is going to boom in a big way, and a lot of people will be required. As rightly said, spend this time, upgrade your knowledge, and be local, follow the local customs, which will be more appreciated by the tourists than copying anybody else. Yeah. So friends, on this note, thank you very much, all of you. You have been a very valuable suggestions which have been made. I'm sure the country will benefit with your valuable suggestions. Wish you all the best. Namaskar. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Session, and I'm highly thankful to all our eminent panelists for their insightful and thoughtful addresses, and also to the viewers of this session. I'm sure that the takeaways of the session will enthuse confidence among students and young professionals during the current testing times towards the new normal. We have a surprise for you all attendees. Scan the QR code on your screens with your mobile phones and answer 10 questions in 10 minutes. You will get to win prizes and surprise gifts. And I shall see you in the next session.